Hello everybody on YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is Rachel the Student Witch and I am here with a tarot spread just in time for Samhain. Now, this spread is called the Wheel of the Year Ahead. It is a year ahead spread and reading, but I included some points of flexibility depending on how you prefer to work and to use the tarot. As you can see, it is a large spread. It is a 9-card spread. In general, I try to keep my spreads in multiples of 3 because 3 is my jam. It's my number. So 3, 6, or 9, but I try to keep it more down towards the 3 end of things. But I figured for a Wheel of the Year kind of spread, if we're using the Wheel of the Year as a template to be able to either reflect on and plan on what we want to work on in the coming year, or as a template to kind of see what might come up in the coming year, then a 9-card spread is definitely needed and necessary. It's a big spread, it's a time-consuming spread, but Samhain, for many pagan folk and witches out there, is the witch's new year, and I honestly didn't used to prescribe to that line of thinking. I actually did not until very recently really work consciously with the concept of the Wheel of the Year. I'm a pantheist, pagan chaos witch. I'm not Wiccan or anything like that, so when I first started out on my path, I just focused on the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes, and that was enough for me. But recently, I started working more consciously with the Wheel of the Year, and part of that had to do with kind of feeling more in tune with the community, because as the year went around, whether people that I watched regularly on YouTube were in the northern or the southern hemisphere, there would be, like, you know, not just the solstice videos like Yule or Litha, but people would make videos for Beltane and Samhain, of course, Samhain. And so I just kind of consciously wanted to try jumping on this bandwagon, and also organizing my thoughts and my conscious tarot work around this concept of the Wheel of the Year. So to feel more part of the community, to reach out to more people in the community, but also I find that it's actually, I've reached a point in my practice where, at least for now, consciously working with the Wheel of the Year has been very helpful. It's been helping me in my reflective and my shadow work and my magical workings. I'm also working more consciously with the moon phases with this book, and actually this tarot spread I developed thanks to some of the information in this book, so I'll get to that in a second. So when I mentioned that I kind of built in some flexibility in this spread, I mean that you can use it as a divination spread, as in, like, I'm going to predict and see what might come my way in the coming year, or you can use it more reflectively and psycho-spiritually, which I would argue is just another way to do divination, but that's a video I need to make at a future date. But yeah, so the questions, the prompts, and the themes that I have for each one of these spokes of the Wheel of the Year, they are both in kind of like the future tense, if you do want to use this as a tool of divination to see what might come your way in the coming year, or you, in the present tense, to kind of reflect on what are your goals and what are the best ways and best times in the coming year to focus on different aspects of those goals, kind of thing. Because I incorporated astrological information in this Wheel of the Year. So the top spoke here is Samhain, right? Because it is the witch's new year. And if you don't associate Samhain with the new year, that's fine. You can just have this be the Yule position, for example, if you associate the winter solstice as the beginning of the new year. For me personally, I kind of view the time between Samhain and Yule as an incubation time. It's kind of like, I feel like since it's the darkest part of the year, the days are getting noticeably shorter and shorter and shorter, and it's getting colder and colder and colder. I feel like it's a time to crawl back up into the uterus of the universe, to be in that darkness and to incubate and reflect and be receptive. That's the feeling I get from it. So really, I think of the new year as really the time between Samhain and Yule, when I can crawl back up into the universe's uterus, into the womb, the egg, and be reflective and receptive, right? Until the time at Yule when the sun is reborn. When we reach the pinnacle of darkness on the eve of Yule, and then the next day, every day after that, gets a little bit longer. The sun stays with us for a little bit longer. It gets a little bit warmer, day by day, inch by inch kind of thing. So yeah, so you can adjust this and modify this to suit your needs in any which way. But I did incorporate the astrological signs for each of the 8 spokes. And I got that information from Moonology, the chapter specifically about working with the new moon as intention setting time, and working with the moon specifically, or the new moon specifically in each astrological symbol as you go through the year, was really helpful. And so I wanted to incorporate that into the spread so that you can make the most and take advantage of the universe's energies at any given time throughout this coming year, to make the most of it and to be the most productive or the most powerful, however you want to say it or feel it, right? So this book was really helpful. I'm probably going to finish it today. I'm like a third or a fourth away from finishing it. So overall, I really like this book, although there's some parts that well, I'll get into that when I review it. So anyway, yes, astrological things. All right, so let's get into the spread itself. And again, I built this for the Northern Hemisphere because currently I live in the Northern Hemisphere, although there is a good chance that by September or by this time of next year I will be living in the Southern Hemisphere in Chile, or the year after that. We're not really sure what's going to go down. But I built this for the Northern Hemisphere, so the astrological associations and the Wheel of the Year is for the North, but feel free to take these ideas and run with it and modify it for yourself, modify it for your own associations with the astrological signs, and you know, how you work with the Wheel of the Year based on where you live or however you feel to do it. So yes. Okay, so the first card here, and this, by the way, is not a reading. I just randomly kind of put these cards down just to give you a visual of what the reading looks like. I'm using the Green Witch Tarot. I feel like this deck, it's very pagan-y, it's very witchy, it's gentle, but it still has some very powerful emotional images. So anytime I have kind of if I feel the need to do a reading to get me into the witchy move or the witchy groove, I always reach for this deck. And the creators of this deck, they've modified some of the names in the major arcana. So for the 10th card in the Major Arcana, we have the Wheel of the Year. So I purposefully picked this out as the center card. But this is position 1, and it is your card of the year. Simple as that, right? Position 2 is Samhain, or if you associate the new year more with Yule, it can be Yule, so just shift everything more. But for me, it's Samhain. And Samhain is in the sign of Scorpio, right? It's a water sign. It's a sign associated with sexuality, but also with death and that kind of, not really duality, but relationship between sexuality and death. So the theme for this card for me is La Petite Mort, or the little death, the orgasm, as the French call it. And my questions are, how can you express or heal your sexuality and your sensuality? What emotions are coming up this Samhain season? What do you need to let go of, keeping in mind that theme of death, this Samhain season? What work do you need to undertake, be it shadow work or ancestor work, at this time? And what can be your focus in closing out this calendar year? Because as we move from Samhain over to Yule, we are closing down the calendar year, the close of 2017, for example, or whatever year it may be. So those are how I've incorporated the energies of Scorpio into this spoke of the Wheel of the Year at the end of one year, moving to the beginning of the next. So, for Yule, and for both of the solstices, and for both of the equinox, we actually have 2 astrological signs whose energy I incorporated into my guiding questions. So for Yule, we have Sagittarius and Capricorn, because Yule usually happens on December 21st or 22nd. December 21st is my birthday, by the way, which is the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn, right? So that's why I incorporated the energies of both of those signs into my guiding questions for Yule. So, for the Sagittarius side of Yule, I have the theme of new light. What wisdom did you gain in the past calendar year? What new inspiration will come to you this solstice? What seeds can you plant for new learning and or travel adventures for the new year, the new calendar year? And then for the Capricorn half, or side of Yule, how can you nurture these seeds? How can you plan these learning, growing, travel projects most effectively? Okay? Oops, sorry. And then for Imbolc, we have the energies of Aquarius. And my guiding theme for this spoke of the Wheel of the Year ahead is reassess, because Aquarius is that air sign. What might need to be reassessed and reevaluated at this time? What aspect or aspects of your life need or needs attention at this time? What aspects of your projects might need to be reassessed? Okay? And then here we have the spring equinox, or Ostara. So again, we have 2 different astrological energies to work with. We have Pisces, water sign, and Aries, fire sign. So 2 extremes. So for the Pisces energies of Ostara, or of this kind of spring equinox time, we have the theme of dream. At this equinox, how will your dreams and intuition help you? Where will your imagination take you? If dreams become nightmares, the darker side of it, right? What can your fears teach you? How might you be asked to face those fears? And so for the Aries half of it, we have the theme of take action. What aspects of your projects might need a jolt of energy at this time? And what aspects of your life might need a jolt of energy at this time? Where have you been a bit too lax? And how might you take advantage of the fiery energy of Aries to get back on track? And then we move to the 6th position, which is Beltane in the sign of Taurus. And so the theme for Taurus and Beltane is a well-being check-in. So checking in with yourself to see how things are going and how your physical and financial well-being is. So by May, what will your financial situation look like? What changes might you need to make with your budget? How will your physical health be? What habits do you need to continue, and which habits might need to be let go of, or might need to be reassessed? Okay. Then for the 7th position, we have Litha. So again, this is the solstice, so we have 2 signs to work with. So for the Gemini side of Litha, the air side, we have speak and relate as the theme. What communication issues might come up at this time? Which aspect of your social circle might need more attention? Which aspects of yourself, shadow, subconscious, etc., might call out to you at this time? Because speaking and communicating is not just with others, it's within ourselves, right? So then for the Cancer side, do I have that right? Yeah. For the Cancer side, we have the theme of home. What will family and home mean to you at this time? What changes might be needed in your home life? What nurturing might be needed? Do you need to do some protection work to protect your home, protect those you love and yourself? And then after Litha, we have Lugnasa in the sign of Leo, a fire sign. And the theme for Lugnasa is shine, right? Very Leo. What confidence issues or insecurities might come up at this time? And how can you work on these confidence issues? How can you shine? And then lastly, we have Mabon, right, which has 2 signs that we can work with, Virgo and Libra, before we complete the circle back to Samhain. So for the Virgo side of Mabon, or Mabon, however you say it, we have the theme of inventory, or taking inventory. So it's time to take inventory and do some fall cleaning. Which aspects and or possessions need to be cleansed or purged? Will your projects require some reorganizing at this time? And then for the other side of it, for Libra, we have the theme of balance. Which aspects of your social life need balance at this time? Which aspects of your relationship with yourself need balance at this time? And there you go. So that is the Wheel of the Year Ahead spread. I hope if you do use this spread, I hope that it is productive for you. It is a 9-card spread, which again, I try to avoid using tons and tons of cards in tarot readings, but if you're looking at the Wheel of the Year or the year ahead, you do need a lot of cards. And so I think for me it just feels a little bit more witchy, a little bit more pagan-y to use 8 cards for the wheel of the year instead of 12 cards for the calendar year, and to have a focus or a central card or a central theme that these 8 spokes of the wheel of the year might turn around. And it was really fun and interesting for me to think about how the astrological signs for each of these spokes of the wheel might play a part or might influence you know, what goes on in the coming year, but also just might be points of inspiration to kind of organize your thoughts about what you want to happen in the coming year, if that makes sense. So if you do use this spread, let me know. I'm going to be giving myself a reading with this spread either on Samhain or the day after Samhain, around that time. So yeah, let me know if it's helpful. Let me know if you, even if you want to make some modifications to it, that would be great. I'm really interested to see how people, or if people have their own different systems for year ahead spreads or wheel of the year kind of spreads. I'm just fascinated by this, and making tarot spreads is really fun. It's a really fun process for me. It actually took me a couple days to work out the kinks for this spread and get the questions, the leading, guiding questions and themes right for each of the spokes of the wheel of the year. So yeah, I hope everyone has a blessed Samhain. I hope everybody has a great Halloween. And until next time, many blessings. Bye!